Hello everyone. So far we've looked at a lot of basic information, introductory matter relating to research, and in this video we are going to take a look at the different steps involved in the research process. This is Dr. Mariam Narona and I will be taking you through the different steps in the research process. Just would like to say one thing, that research is not an isolated activity. It requires certain amount of pre-work. During the research, of course, you have to work, you have to collect data, you have to analyze it, you have to interpret it, but it requires a lot of preparation. There are steps leading up to research, there are steps involved in actually carrying out the research, and after you complete the research, interpreting it and presenting it in the form of a report. All these steps are there in the research process. Just to very quickly summarize the steps in the research process, there are 7 steps. First is problem definition. Second, review of literature. Third, formulation of hypothesis. Fourth, research design. Fifth, data collection. Sixth, analysis. And seventh step is interpretation and report writing. Now, I would say problem definition and review of literature go hand in hand. You cannot identify a problem or a research question without carrying out a review of literature. So, in order to identify a research question, you are required to do some groundwork, and part of that groundwork is review of literature. You cannot just identify a topic just like that without any basis. So let's look at how you carry out the different steps in the research process. What are they and how do you work on them? The first thing when you think of doing research is, you choose a topic. You have to come up with a topic. Now that topic is a research problem, or it is a question to which you seek an answer. It could be a problem that is not always, every research does not try to solve a problem that is, why is unemployment growing? This is a problem, right? But it need not always be something like that. Sometimes your research question could be something like what Abraham Maslow faced. What is it that motivates people? Right? And this is how you could have a question. You could be faced with a problem. You could identify a problem to be solved. It could be a theoretical problem. It could be a practical problem. So your topic comprises of either a problem or a question, and you are not going to be able to identify a topic, come up with a problem or a research question without adequate preparation. By that preparation, I mean a lot of reading and perhaps a pilot study which helps you to determine whether or not there is potential for you to study that topic. Also, the review of literature will show you whatever work has been done already in this domain and which are the different facets which have not been explored by researchers before, which you can explore. So, problem definition is intrinsically linked with review of literature. Review of literature means extensive reading, especially if you're going to do your MPhil or your PhD. You need to read exhaustively a lot of literature, probably everything you can find on the topic you are looking at studying. And you should read for about 3 months at least. Prepare your notes. This will help you to understand which are the facets which people have explored and which are yet unexplored. It will help you to identify a knowledge gap, which is what any good research should address. There should be a knowledge gap. There should be something which is yet untapped, which requires to be studied, questions which need to be answered, or perspectives, fresh perspectives which need to be presented, aspects which need to be studied, and all this can be discovered only through a review of literature. And review of literature does not mean the first thing you Google. It is definitely not going to be any popular website where people go looking for information and which can be edited by anyone on the internet. Not that kind of literature, but you look up good journals, you look up thesis in this, go to the library, ask the librarian to show you some thesis and dissertations on the topic or related to the topic which you want to study. Go there and read up and try and find out information. Try to read and identify a knowledge gap. Also, just stopping at the knowledge gap is not enough. You need to do a pilot study, a small study, to test whether you are going to get the data, or whether your this guess or estimate which you have in mind, whether that is going to be you're going to be able to prove it or not. So review of literature, exhaustive, extensive reading from good library sources, very good reliable sources. This is where, and how you do review of literature, where do you find where you can review is when you read an article or you read a research paper, there will be some references. You go to the reference section and look for leads on related topics where you can find, and keep on reading on that. Now, formulation of hypothesis. Every research study need not have a hypothesis, but in social sciences, usually when you're studying commerce, management, all these things, business studies, you will probably have a hypothesis which you will want to test. So a hypothesis is a predictive statement. It is a measured guess, and it is something like, there is a relationship between a person's income and his ability to save. There is a relationship between the reading habits of people and their propensity to be successful. These kind of statements are hypotheses, which you need to test out, study and see, collect data and see, does this hold true? Now you will have simple hypothesis, you will have complex hypothesis, null and alternate hypothesis. We will do what are the different types of hypothesis in another little video on hypothesis. But for right now, it would suffice to say that a hypothesis is a predictive statement. It is a measured guess which you make regarding the variables which you are studying. The next step is research design. Now research design, it's like a blueprint, the future course of action, how you're going to carry out your research, which is the methodology that you will follow. This is research design. That is basically when you it's something like, you want to go to Mumbai from Pune. You have the option of taking a train, you have the option of taking a bus, you have the option of taking a cab, a shared cab, a cab which is all to yourself, taking your car, driving yourself, taking a driver. All these are the different ways in which you get to reach Mumbai from Pune. These are the options. But you may decide that, okay, going by train is the best for me. Why? Because my objective of going to Mumbai is that I need to be at a meeting at Dadar at 11:30 a.m. So if I take a train, I will reach in good time so that I am able to make it for the meeting. If I go by road, I will get stuck in traffic jams or something like that. And that, the most reliable way of traveling probably for me is the train. So this is research design. Keep your objective in mind and then figure out how do I reach my research objective, which is the best way for me. Can I carry out an online survey? Do I need to do field work? Can I do observational study? All this will come in your research design. Whether my study will be based on primary data, whether it will be based purely on secondary data, will it be a blend of the two, right? Where will I collect my information from? Who will be my sample? How much is the universe? And things like that. All these decisions come in research design. The research design aspect of a study will also tell you things like, as I mentioned, what is your universe? So supposing you're studying a rare form of cancer and there are only 50 patients in the city who have that form of cancer, then you can do a census study. You don't need to draw a sample. You can study all those patients. So research design helps you to decipher the mechanism of how you're going to reach your objective. How will I go about testing my hypothesis? How will I collect my data? And how will I test out my hypothesis? The research design will tell you. It's like a basic plan. And good research design is flexible. It is not rigid, because you may or may not, sometimes you don't get data from a certain source. Then the way you're collecting data, that might not be correct, or sample size may be inaccurate. So therefore, research design needs to be flexible in order that it produces the right results. Data collection. Now broadly you have primary data and secondary data. Primary data is collected first hand by the researcher. So anything that you collect by means of observation, by means of interview, survey, whatever, this is your primary data. Secondary data is that data which is collected by others who have studied the same topic or similar topics, and which you use as a base for your study. Sometimes research may be completely primary database, sometimes it may be purely secondary database, depends on your topic. So data collection, ideally primary data you have control over, it is reliable, but also you can manipulate it. That is a danger in primary data. In secondary data, you cannot really vouch for 100% for the quality and reliability of the data. You're just taking other people's information and you are using it. But this is how we actually go about in research, that ideally research should have a good blend of both primary and secondary data. But sometimes it is like, if you are studying foreign direct investment, you are not going to be able to have primary data for that. That way your data then has to be totally secondary data. So this is determined basically on the basis of whatever you are studying, what is the topic of your research. Analyzing the data to get meaning, draw meaning out of it, draw an inference, draw some conclusion to understand and interpret it. You may use Excel. It is Microsoft Excel. You can perform all types of statistical tests and analysis there. But if you need, you may use SPSS, which is a package which is very good also for data analysis. So you basically feed in your data and put it to the test and see what are the results, what is the probability and other statistical measures and inferences which you want to draw. Finally, interpretation and report writing. Now, just analyzing the data is not enough. You need to interpret it, and for that you may prepare tables, charts, graphs. All of these you may prepare because they are very quick and easy to look at and draw inferences. Then you draw interpretations from the analysis. That is, you try to understand in the context of your objectives that yes, there is a relationship between a person's reading habits and how successful he is, and for that you may have picked 50 entrepreneurs who are high net worth individuals and studied their reading habits, and now you can prove that okay, so and so spends between 5 and 10 hours reading every day, or reads how many books per year, and then this is his net worth, right? So this is how you interpret and draw conclusions. And report writing, that is, you put it in a format that other people can understand whatever you have studied. A report has a certain structure, that is, it will have an introduction, it will have review of literature, it will have data analysis, interpretation, conclusions, findings and conclusions, and future scope for research, references, appendices, index. All these are parts of a formal report, which we will be doing in a separate video on report writing. So by and large, these are the steps in the research process. I hope this summary of the steps in the research process was helpful to you. It was informative. If you like this video, please don't forget to hit the like button. Do check out the content on this channel and subscribe to it if you find it useful. Don't forget to comment and leave your feedback, and share this video with others who might find it useful. Thank you.